calling. For English, please press 1 now. Para español, presione número 2 ahora. True Blue is committed to ethical behavior in all our business dealings. Your call and any related reports will be treated confidentially and respectfully to the extent legally permissible. Our Speak Up culture encourages reports of violations made in good faith without fear of retaliation. To maximize confidentiality, True Blue Compliance Alert is operated by Nevex Global, an unaffiliated third-party service provider located in the United States. To file a new report, please press 1. To follow up on an existing report, please press 2. You have called Nevex Global, a company hired by True Blue to gather information related to potential issues. We will take 10 to 15 minutes to ask you a series of questions, then submit the information you provide to True Blue so they can begin an investigation if warranted. All information you provide will be kept confidential. Please hold for the next available communication specialist. Your call may be monitored for training, quality assurance, and other purposes. Thank you for calling. Please remain on the line. Your call will be answered in the order it was received. Thank you for continuing to hold. Your call will be answered in the order it was received. Thank you for continuing to hold. Your call will be answered in the order it was received. Thank you for continuing to hold. Your call will be answered in the order it was received. Thank you for calling the True Blue Compliance Alert. My name is Shamina. Would you like to file in your report or follow up on an existing report?
This is a new report.
Certainly, I'll be more than happy to assist you with that. Kindly confirm the company name that your call is in reference to, please.
True Blue.
Awesome. Right, thank you so much. Right. Please allow me a moment. I just need to go over the company's guidelines, right?
Okay.
Thank you. Lord, thank you so much for staying on the line for me. I do appreciate it. And I'd just like to inquire with you, is it a question that you would like to ask or file a report?
I was instructed by someone from the corporate office to file a report.
Okay, understood. And what country are you currently located in?
United States. Where are you?
And in Johannesburg, South Africa?
That's definitely across the pond.
Yes, well, it's all the way across the ocean. Awesome. And I would just like for you to kindly confirm the state in which True Blue Compliance is located in.
I'm in Colorado. The main company is in Washington.
Washington, okay. And do you work remotely or is there an office for True Blue in Colorado?
I am employed by an office out of Colorado, but I don't work for the corporate office. I am from branch 1150.
Okay, so we'll just go with the Washington office that is basically employed you. Is that okay?
Well, no, because the Washington office is the one that approves our pay, but the local office is the one that hires all the employees here in Colorado.
Oh, okay.
And she told me to make sure that I say what she told me to make sure I say what branch it was, and it was branch 1150.
1150. Okay. Just a moment. Right. And all right, so I'll just go ahead and make sure to document that report, so basically that into the report as well. I do want to find out from you with branch 1150, is it the one in Washington or Colorado? Because this report has to be sent to them. Hence, I'm asking for.
The report has to go to the Washington corporate office.
Okay, perfect. I'll select Washington as the state. And in what city is it in?
I believe Seattle.
Seattle. Let me have a look. Moment. Oh, there we go. Right. And if you let me see here on one further, and if you'd kindly just confirm the correct location. I have three locations that are stated on here. The first one starts with 0042 Seattle MSA Skilled Trades, 1104 North King County, 3744 Nordstrom Inc. Which one would be the correct one?
Be honest with you, I do not know. I've never been to the corporate office in Washington.
Okay.
When I communicate with them, it's usually by phone.
Oh, okay. Are you able to get the address, perhaps the physical address, so that I can document it down?
I am not. I don't have any way to get the corporate office address. We're only given a phone number for them. I only have the address of the local here in Fort Collins.
Okay. Let's see here. Just a moment.
But whichever one you have, it should say corporate office for whatever address is.
Okay. So just to explain to you, it's just basically prompting me for, as the state as I asked for, the city, and it provides with basically just options of the address that you'd basically be familiar with, or the one that would be the correct one, so that the report can be sent there. Hence my asking, since I would not have that information.
You don't send it by email. You send it through the phone or through the mail.
Well, it is a system that we use, and then when we're done documenting, this information gets sent to that company.
Through an email.
Not by email. Not necessarily. It's like a hotline, and then they receive it. It's like a system that they have to access, and then they get whatever is filed, and then they proceed to investigate from there.
Okay. I would just choose one or the other, since you have two different addresses, and if it goes to the wrong address, I'm sure they'll send it over to the corporate office.
Let me just see here. Let's see, just a moment. And would you also, alright, I'll just choose whichever one that might be presented on here. I just wanted to find out, do you also have the address of the local office,
so that I can just make sure I have it on my end as well?
The local office is 1701 East Lincoln Avenue, Fort Collins, Colorado. But they're not the ones that get the report.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, this report has to go to the Washington people.
To Washington. All right. The reason for collecting this information, I also just need to go ahead just to inquire that with my superiors, so they are that side, so they can advise me on how to proceed with the report since there is uncertainty regarding the address. Okay. And what city is it in Colorado?
Fort Collins.
Fort Collins, you said?
Yeah.
Could you spell that for me?
F-O-R-T Collins, Collins.
Thank you. Collins. And do you know the zip code?
80524.
80524.
Yeah, and there's been problems before when things have been turned in, and that's why I'm telling you. She told me specifically over the phone that all you guys needed was the branch that's being reported. That you guys didn't need their address. You needed the Washington address because nothing gets sent to the local office because that's where the problem is.
Unfortunately, no, that the system is not prompting me that, well, basically, I don't want to say she's wrong, but it doesn't provide me with the branch 1150. So I do need the entire address. So,
as long as nothing gets sent to that address, because that's the branch that the company needs to investigate.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine as well. I'm just going to go ahead and add that on here. Moment. And in a sentence or two, if you kindly describe to me the primary reason for your call.
Yes, well, reports were given to the local office, complaints of employees being intoxicated, both alcohol-wise and under the influence of marijuana, and that led up to me being injured on the job because I had turned into the office, and someone at the office actually told the people I was working with that I had turned in a report to them that people were high on the job. So they started a racist campaign against me, and then one of the employees dropped a very heavy piece of equipment intentionally, causing me to have the accident that happened to me.
Understood. And my apologies for
And part of that is the employer was told several times of the situation going on, and they failed to do anything about it. They allowed OSHA violations to happen on the site. They refused to come down and check it out. They claimed that the people that we were doing the contract for is their biggest contractor. And yeah, it's a mess.
Understood. And I just wanted to thank you for the brief information that you have provided to me. If you'd kindly just allow me a moment to go over the company's guidelines. And another thing is that just to go and just to clarify the information, the address information with my superiors, and I'll be with you shortly, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. And one last question. I just want to find out before I place the line on hold. How did you find out about the hotline's number?
The corporate office gave it to me. My corporate office.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
And that's the office in Washington.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And just a moment, I'll be with you shortly. sir, for staying on the line for me. I do appreciate it. And I just wanted to confirm with you, sorry, sir, with regards to the incident where everything occurred, did it happen in the local office in Colorado where you got injured?
I was injured not in Fort Collins. I was injured in a town called Loveland, Colorado, and the facility that I got injured at was a Walmart distribution site warehouse.
Okay.
But I'm not calling to discuss really discuss the accident. I'm calling. They asked me to call because compliance that was supposed to be done, that is supposed to protect when an employee turns something in of something going on with other employees, it's all supposed to be confidential. In this case, it was not. Rules and regulations were broken that allowed this accident to happen. Safety protocol was broken, and that's how the accident happened. After that, the lack of communication with the local office, including employees being racist towards me. I'm Native American, and because I turned in that these employees were high on the job, they in turn tried to counter that because Caleb, who's in charge of the office, he's the supervisor, main supervisor, told the other employees that I had turned them in for the smell of marijuana at the job site, which is not just against our policies, but it's also against the policies of the facility that we were at, because Walmart doesn't allow that. Also, the contractor that we were being contracted for doesn't allow it because it's a safety violation, and it's in the paperwork. And then also, I have a complaint against someone from the corporate office.
Understood. And before you do go ahead and just to tell me in more detail, I still do have just a few questions that I do need to inquire with you. I also do need to take down the address regarding where you also got would that would that be in 0085 Loveland, Colorado, or was it 55 Loveland, Colorado?
Give me a moment. I could probably let me look that up and see if that's in the paperwork. The address was in it was Loveland, but it was off a road called Crossroads Boulevard. But let me double check and give you that address exact. Take just a second to bring this up. So you said you're in South Africa? How's your weather down there?
It's rainy. Today's very rainy, but it's a little bit chilly. Not too bad actually. Enjoy the weather.
Unfortunately, we got a surprise little bit of snow today. Normally, it's rain and stuff, so we had a cold front come through that we normally don't get this time of year. It's usually rain, like a warm spring rain. So a little unexpected. So we got a little bit of overcast. Other than that, I mean, it's not too bad. The temperature is in the 30s, so probably a little cooler than where you're at. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like, if you're ready, the address where the accident took place and the violations took place is 7500 East Crossroads Boulevard, Building 6019, Loveland, Colorado, 80538. And then the face-to-face, I turned in both over the phone. on some of the violations and try to get them to address it, as well as going to the office and personally talking to them and letting them know of the things that have been happening, because they've been letting people show up on different job sites, allow the time to be out there drunk or under the influence of marijuana and other drugs. And though marijuana is legal in the state of Colorado, under federal law, it's not legal. And under OSHA rules and regulations, you cannot be under the influence while doing this type of work. It's Colorado is all about safety, and they're very strict on that. And to my knowledge, I thought our company was, but they let them have a lot of leeway in order to keep employees. And if the employee gets in trouble on one job, they send them to another job, and that's not right. That just means that they're putting somebody else in danger on another job site.
Right. I seem to have follow-up questions for you before I can go ahead and just start documenting the report. I just went ahead and stated on here so that your the brand that you work for is True Blue Compliance and that you are an employee. I would just like to find out if you'd like to remain anonymous for the report, or would you like to provide me with your information?
Well, the office is, they already know, I mean, the corporate office knows that I'm turning this in, so as soon as they see the report, they're going to know. But for the local office, I need to stay anonymous, but they're going to know who it is.
I can go ahead and
because I'm the only one that was injured. I'm the only one that was injured on this site. So, but yeah, I'd like to keep it anonymous. But they already know, like I said, I've already talked to the corporate office about this. It just needs to be investigated.
Certainly. All right. I'll just go ahead and state on here that you'd like to be anonymous, and I can also include a request for the company to handle basically the report with discretion. All right. If you'd like for me to do that.
Yes.
All right. All right. Just state that on here. Second.
What's that?
Just stating it on here for the company to handle the report with discretion.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. And I just want to find out, what is the name of the person that you'd like to, or the people that you'd like to hold accountable for today's report?
So the main supervisor, his name is Caleb. I do not know his last name, but he is the branch supervisor. I had turned in reports to him. I also turned it in to someone by the name of Lexi. And the individual that allowed this piece of equipment to just fall from their hands and cause the accident to happen is actually related to this individual in the office. He claimed that she was his granddaughter. This individual is 74 years old and should have never been on this site. The office was well aware of this, so this comes down to the supervisor for the office, Caleb.
Understood. So
And
go ahead
the
and report Caleb and Lexi.
yeah, and then the other individual is someone from the corporate office from the Workman's Comp Division by the name of Missy Davis.
Missy Davis. And what is Missy's job title?
She works for the Work Comp Department up in Washington, D.C. For workers' compensation, making sure that to like approve hours for workers and to approve workers to have employment, light duty employment, things like that, while the employee is injured and trying to recover and going through the work comp process.
Understood. And I just want to find out, do you know Lexi's job title?
She's just she's an office personnel. She helps to find jobs for employees.
Okay. Right. And thank you so much for that information. And let me see here. If you kindly provide me with the most recent date that the accident happened.
The accident happened on February 20th, 2025, at approximately 11:40 in the morning.
These are just out of the mandatory questions that I still have to go through with you. I will still ask you to just basically to inform me in more detail what it is that happened as we get through the interview process, okay? And we'll politely interject you from time to time to ask you for clarity. And I just want to find out, sir, how long the issue has been going on. Would you say this was the first time that you were injured because of basically the use of basically them using substance abuse at work?
I've never been injured before. I've come close to being injured because of working with different employees, not just necessarily at this site, but at other sites. In the past, employees have showed up drunk, being belligerent, throwing things around, yelling at other people, taking their aggressions out on them, and putting other people in harm's way, showing up on the site. You could tell that they were intoxicated. Other times, people being under the influence of marijuana, and you could smell it. And it seems like every time this has been turned into the office, and we'll just say basically over the past year, leading up to this point, it seems that somebody in the office tells people that are on these job sites that they've been turned in, and they tell them who turned it in, and then that person usually retaliates against the other employees who have turned in these things happening. In this case, I was told by the individual, and I didn't know who it was exactly that smelled like marijuana, because there was 4 people standing there, but it was, putting it in a dangerous situation. And I had actually turned this in a couple days before the accident. And on the day of the accident, one of the guys was calling me a narc and a racist, and he was getting Roberto, the guy that actually dropped the piece of equipment, before the accident happened. He was getting him to call me a racist, which to me, I don't put up with that. I'm Native American. I don't believe in anybody, being racist towards anyone. And we were working with most of the people that we were working with, everybody on our crew except for one guy. He was from Mexico, and that's Lexi's grandfather. All the other guys we worked with were from like Peru and South America and all that. And they were all, I don't think that they liked the idea that I could communicate with these guys, and they would pick on these guys and be belligerent, and I would stick up for, these other people we were working with, and they didn't like that. And then I also turned in the report, not just to my office, but I turned it into the supervising team on site that we were contracted to. And unfortunately, I found out that the one guy, and it's obvious who it was that was high on the site. Caleb called him, because he came right out and said that Caleb called him and he was calling me a narc because Caleb told him who turned it in. That's a violation of law. Caleb wasn't allowed to do that. It's supposed to be in confidence. And then later that afternoon is when the piece of equipment got dropped, and I'm now calling it intentionally from the other end, causing me to get hit by it and causing my injuries. And it's been 7 weeks. And I was supposed to do light duty next week. And this Missy Davis from the corporate office, who is in charge of taking care of injured workers, called me, yelled at me, and stated that they were pulling me from any light duty, which, I haven't done any light duty yet. And they were not going to put me back to work. Because I've been in communication with the state of Colorado Division of Workers' Compensation, and talking with my doctor, and talking with my representatives for the insurance company since this has all been happening, and found out that even my local office has been lying to me, and they didn't like the idea that I was turning in employees and trying to go around that, because they've been allowing this to happen for so long that now, they're taking this out on me.
Understood, right? And I just wanted to thank you so much, sir, for that information that you've provided to me. Before we do proceed, I do want to inform you that the report, however, will just be a summarized version of the information that you had provided to me. I also do have a couple of questions regarding the incidents, what happened with the substance abuse. I just wanted to find out if you knew the type of alcohol beverage that the employees would be drinking, and who those employees are, if you do know.
The person that smelled like marijuana was actually I only know his first name, and it's Anthony. And he was also causing controversy. We worked about 4 weeks, 3 weeks without him. Before he showed up, everything was good. There was no problems. When he showed up, he was loud and obnoxious, bringing the smell of marijuana to the site. And just being hateful. And if you didn't agree with him, he said terrible things about you, like the guys from South America. He was saying terrible things about them. And, that wasn't right. And I'm the one, I spoke up and I told him, I said, hey, you can't say those things, right? They don't work for us. They work for somebody else, and they're making sure that we all have jobs here. Well, that kind of put me, I guess, in a bad place, and, with him. And so then he decided he was going to target me. And so like I said, I had turned in about the whole marijuana thing. Alberto, he actually smelled like alcohol a lot of times, and half the time he acted like he was drunk. And talking inappropriately about doing things with women under a specific age. And I told him that was very inappropriate. We had female workers not working with us, but were in the warehouse. And so, all these things, I turned in all these things. And then somebody in our office went back and told the employees what I had said and what I had turned in. And that was prior to the accident. And then on the day of the accident, this Anthony was having Alberto calling me a racist, and he thought he was being smart and saying it to trying to get the guys from South America to say it, and they just kind of looked at him because had been communicating with me. I speak Spanish. I actually speak several languages, and they even came and talked to me and asked me if I understood what he was saying. I said, yeah, I understand every word. And so when I asked him about it, he said that Anthony was telling him to say this because Anthony knew that he couldn't be high and be on this job site. So then Anthony and this guy, Zach, they got moved to another part of the warehouse. And just before lunch, approximately 11:40 in the morning, We were laying these big pieces of equipment down. They weighed several hundreds of pounds. They were over 20 feet long, 4 foot wide, and made of solid steel. Me and Roberto were laying, there was 4 of us. One set got laid down by 2 guys, and then myself and Roberto were getting ready to lay down the next one. And I asked him, I said, "Are you sure you got that?" And he smiled. And he said, "Oh yeah, I got this, no problem." Well, we start laying it down because it's up on its side, so it's averaging over 8 foot tall. And I can't, with my left arm, I can't reach all the way up there. Even at, and I'm 5'10", and I couldn't reach all the way up top. So we start laying it down, and if you're looking at a clock, and if he's at like 12 o'clock, he's laying it down to, he's facing me. So it would be, like 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, from his side that he's laying it down. Well, he gets to right about 11 o'clock, which would be like 90 degrees, and he lets it go. And it came flying down on his end. His end came down, it kind of came down at an angle. When that happened, my side kind of went up in the air a little bit. And at this point, it's already over 4.5 feet off the ground where it's sitting on its side. So when it came down at a quick angle, and the right side where I had my right hand went up, and then it came down at an angle, and on the bottom is there's a flat plate about 1/8 of an inch thick, and it has got 4 sharp corners on it. These things get bolted to the ground when they're standing straight up. As it came down, it dug into my right shoulder, and so I moved to my left a little bit to get away from it. And when I did that, my right arm got underneath the center bar, which is about 9 inches in from the very end that's digging into my arm. And so the doctor called it a crushed impact. And when it finally stopped, it was at about 5 foot high. So, when it came all the way down, Alberto had walked away and went and told the guys that he had just dropped it. And I heard Anthony yell out from the other, from over where he was, "That's what you get," which told me right there that it was intentional that they dropped it. So it's intentional that I got hit with it. The guy on the forklift, Carlos, he works for a company out of California for this project. He jumped off of the forklift and came over, and then the guy behind me that laid down the first, they're called, they're rails. He came over, and they both asked me if I was okay at the same time, and then got me to go off to the side and relax for a while because I was really pale. And then just kind of took it easy until lunch. And then at lunch, I went and found a supervisor. Carlos went and told his supervisor what happened. And then he came back, and it was a few minutes till lunch. And then I went and told my supervisor what happened. And apparently, this Anthony guy thought that I was turning in something about him to the supervisors. So he went to the phone, called Caleb at the office, and told him that I was being racist and all these things. Because Caleb talked to me that night on the 20th at home. He didn't call me to ask me about the accident. He called because he was telling me that he was going to remove me from that location because I was making racial slurs, which was not true at all. But this is what this guy Anthony did, thinking that so that he could continue to be high on the location. That's what these guys do all the time, and the company has allowed this because they try to keep as many as employees as possible because there's other employment services here in Colorado that are actually taking business away from this company because this company has a bad reputation for bad employees because they allow them to go out to a site, and no matter how many times they tell them, you can't be out here doing this, you can't be high on this site, they do it anyway. But with the accident, these rails that we were cleaning and laying down, they originally started out at 2 foot high. And then they added another layer on top of that to bring them up higher. And then they added a 4x4 on top of that. So when it was all the way up, it was close to 5 feet when it was completely laying flat. And of course, when these things are up on their sides, they're over 8 foot tall. Now, I had also called in about these things prior to the accident happening and told them that they kept moving them up higher and higher and higher. And I brought up, hey, you know, if this thing falls over and hits somebody, it's going to hurt. Well, our Caleb was supposed to go down to the location and check it out because it's not only against our policies, but it's also True Blues policies, but it's also an OSHA violation to be the way that it was. He didn't go down. The accident happened, and I was the one to update him, even though I had talked to Lexi on the phone and I talked with another office personnel over the phone and turned in the accident. Caleb was unaware that this accident ever happened. And then after I told him the whole thing, he changed his tune about having me removed from that location. And he told Anthony over the phone that when Anthony tried to tell him I made racial slurs, he told Anthony that I'm Native American and he couldn't see me making racial slurs. And I said, no, I actually stick up for people. You know this. And he goes, that's exactly what I said to Anthony. And then he tried to change, you know, what he said after that. So that was that whole situation right there. But what actually caused the accident was, number one, if these things were not up as high as they were, that accident would have never happened. The employee would have never did what he did. Also, they told me that instead of getting witness statements, the company did not get any witness statements of how the accident happened. And they stated that the guy that was on the other end that dropped this piece of equipment, that he supposedly left state and went back to Texas after the accident. And they removed all the other employees from the company from that location. That's a lot. I'm sorry. It's like a miniature movie playing over and over in my head.
That's okay. There's no need to apologize. And we do appreciate the information that you have provided to me. But just to inform you that, as I stated, that I'm just going to go ahead and have a summarized report of, because this includes a initially summarized of the information that you provided to me. Okay.
Okay.
I just had a few other questions regarding the substance abuse that's also taking place at work. Do you think it was captured in surveillance cameras? And if the facility does have surveillance cameras?
I asked them about surveillance from that warehouse, and they tried to tell me that the inside of the warehouse did not have surveillance inside, which I find that hard to believe because it's an automated warehouse. I do know that there is surveillance cameras on the outside of the building. So those are visible. You can see those. And the ones inside, I'm pretty sure they were up by the ceiling. But when I asked about the inside ones, they claimed that there was no cameras inside the building, which I don't believe that whatsoever, because Walmart owns the property and Walmart is big on safety.
Understood. So to your knowledge is that there are surveillance cameras regardless of what has been told by you, or regardless of what was said, that there is not?
Yes, they told me that there is not, and I know different that there are, because I have employees that actually work for Walmart.
Okay, understood. And do you believe that the incident, basically the substance abuse and the accident that happened would be captured on camera?
No, unfortunately, they weren't doing it inside the building. What they would do is leave in the middle of doing the work that we were doing, and they would disappear for 10 to 15 minutes to supposedly go use the bathroom, and they were doing it in the Donikers, in the outside bathrooms.
All right, let me add that on here, just a moment.
And then they were also doing it, they would go out and walk around the corner of equipment that was out in the yard, and they would do it out there. So because they knew that there was cameras outside, but the cameras can't see around the corners of these rails that hadn't been worked on yet out in the yard. And they were these things are very tall. They're like 8 to 10 feet high. So you could easily walk around the backside and do whatever. And then, of course, in the temporary bathrooms outside, once you close the door, these cameras can't see anything. They don't see inside the bathroom.
Okay, so
But you could smell it in the air, and you could smell it on the individuals when they came back inside.
Understood. Right, and I just want to find out. You said that they would be smoking it inside the bathrooms, and you said what was the other case?
Yeah, so inside the Donikers is what we call them. They're like porta potties. You could smell it in those. The good thing is there was a bunch of them that you could go use, but unfortunately, when you smoked in one, that scent kind of carried to some of the other ones. You could smell it strongly in the air. And then they would also go out into the yard and walk behind some of the equipment in the yard. And some of this equipment, these piles of material were over 10 feet high. They were over 20 feet long. When you walked on the backside of these things, you could not see them. But when these people came back inside, you could smell alcohol, you could smell marijuana, and there was another smell, and it wasn't cologne. And I'm pretty sure it was another type of drug.
Understood, right? And let me just have a look.
And I want to point out that this isn't the first location that I've been on where employees have done these things. Some of the contractors have kicked some of these guys off location when they caught them smoking and doing drugs and doing other things on their property. And so this has been going on for a long time. But unfortunately, the company doesn't fire these guys. They just send them to another location so that they can keep making money off of them.
Okay. Right, understood. Let me just go ahead and just continue to document that information. Sorry about that. I think I'm having a little bit of system issues. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Yeah, you kind of cut out there on me for a second.
All right. Thank you so much for asking. No, I was just saying thank you so much for that information. I do appreciate it. And you, just one of the mandatory questions that, so you guys do operate heavy machinery as part of the job duties, essentially. That's how you got injured?
I'm sorry, I got about half of that.
Sorry about that. So I was just inquiring inquiring that just to answer the question that so as part of your job duties, Anthony Herberto as well, they do operate heavy machinery.
The type of equipment that we're working on, or that we were working with. So, like I said, our job was to clean down these rails and make sure that they were ready to go into the back, get painted, and then set into location. So another crew could do their jobs, but they couldn't do them if they were full of rust and they were filthy, because they had to make sure that they were ready to go. And it was our jobs to prep them so that they could be touched up with paint and taken to the back of the warehouse and set into place to help put up the automated system for the warehouse. And like I said, they weighed several hundreds of pounds. And I mean, and you're told right off the back, it's a safety function job. And they tell you right off the back, be careful, because if these things fall and they hit you, you're going to get hurt. And they tell you that right off the back, and they make you sign and watch videos to put forth how important it is that you pay attention to the rules. And they also tell you no cell phones in there, and they were on their cell phones quite a bit. The location had rules that there was no cell phones allowed inside the warehouse. You couldn't be on your cell phones. You couldn't wear earbuds. You couldn't be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. You couldn't smoke in there, and there was no eating in there. So they had all these rules into place. The facility did, and our company is supposed to abide by all those rules and regulations. But unfortunately, some of the rules and regulations were overlooked, pushed off to the side, and the company that we were contracting for outside of the safety company, they were the ones that were breaking the OSHA rules and regulations by changing the height of where we were working on these. And then that allowed the employee, because they knew at this height, if you let these things go and somebody else is on the other end or standing off to the side, you're going to hit them. And in this case, that's what happened. They retaliated against me for making this call. Caleb told the guy that I turned in the report about, he told him that guy retaliated against me, and instead of going against me directly, I believe that he put Roberto up to this to drop that piece of equipment, let it go when we were laying it down. And then after it happened, like I said, Roberto walked away. He walked to the other side of the warehouse and went and told him what he just did. And the Anthony guy yelled out as loud as he could, "That's what you get." So that told me right there that accident was intentional. And had Caleb done his job and removed these guys for being high on the job and under the influence, and came down and inspected and saw that these things were too high up in the air, and it's an OSHA violation and a violation against our company, had he actually shown up like he was asked to several times, none of this would have happened. If he would have removed these guys from being high on the site, none of this would have happened. This all could have been prevented, but it wasn't, because they allow these guys to slide. And they allow companies, especially if the company is a big contract for our company, they let them slide on rules and regulations and safety standards. And after the accident, my supervisor on location would not even let me go turn the report in to the safety individual for the safety company that was there. They wouldn't even let me talk to him. They denied me from talking to him. And the company refused to give me a copy of the accident report for us, and they refused to give me a copy of the accident report for the facility, which I was told I was entitled to. the bottom line is this is pure negligence by our company. It's a safety issue for the other company we were contracting for. So there, in this case, there's two parties that's responsible for the accident. One, negligence because they were breaking OSHA rules and regulations and standards, and our company for not going down and addressing these issues and blowing it off. And on top of that, sharing privileged information from one employee to another between a supervisor, that's